Hi, everyone. It's a little later than I thought I was going to start. I had some technical difficulties, but I'm just happy to have the opportunity to share at any time about these principles. Yeah, this is a topic. No people pleasing and no private thoughts is a topic that's very, very exciting to me, because I think it's where the rubber hits the road when it comes to A Course in Miracles and how to take it to deeper levels of experience, how to drop the mask, how to really go fully into the Spirit's love, and to know that we don't need to be ashamed of our private thoughts, that they're actually just kind of humorous when they're exposed. You know, we all have the same kinds of private thoughts. The ego is the same in all of us. It may seem to arise in different ways. We all seem to have our own individual issues, but the underlying content is the same. And when we begin to take our first steps towards getting in touch with those private thoughts, getting in touch with the memories, the things that we feel ashamed of, then we're actually on the road to healing. And that's what this movie is about that I'm going to talk about, Take Me Home. It's such a powerful illustration of these principles in action. And I remember when I first came to Living Miracles Monastery, it was back in, I think around 2009. And I had been studying the Course for, I don't know, about 3 or 4 years at that point. And I felt like, I actually felt like I had mastered the Course at that point. I had read The Disappearance of the Universe in 2005 or 6. Yeah, I guess it was 2006. And I had been listening to Ken Wapnick for a few years since then, and I really felt like I understood the Course completely, and that all I needed to do was practice forgiveness. And I still think that's true. All I need to do is practice forgiveness, but there's more to it now. It's become richer, and I've realized that forgiveness isn't just an intellectual process anymore. It's deeper than the intellect. And where I used to use, a lot of intellectual techniques to practice forgiveness, I started to realize that it also required that I follow the Spirit's guidance and be willing to join with people who might trigger me, and help me to get in touch with the darkness that is still under the surface. So at the monastery, we practice these principles, and I'll just tell you a little bit about how they actually work, because I know a lot of people, when they first hear about no private thoughts and no people-pleasing being the guidelines at the monastery, it can sound a little bit frightening. Like, whoa, I don't think I'm ready to share my private thoughts with anybody. And this whole no people pleasing, I mean, what does that mean? Are people just going to come up to me and just tell me what they think of me all the time, and I just have to face that? And my experience wasn't like that at all. And it's never really been. I've realized that it's actually practiced, these principles are practiced with a lot of love and a lot of care and devotion and gentleness and even kindness, I would say, like true kindness. Of course, the ego's version of kindness can sometimes be a little backwards, but when we're honest with each other in a loving way, then it can really help us to move through blocks much more quickly. So like I said, I thought I had mastered the Course back in 2009, and then I was guided to go to a retreat first I went to a retreat in Kentucky with David Hoffmeister and some of the people who were leading the retreat in his community. And then I think it wasn't long after that that I went to the monastery for the first time. And we would have these things called expression sessions, where we would all join in a circle and there would be one person facilitating the expression session. And they would invite us all to share any private thoughts that were weighing us down, to just get in touch, and no pressure, not like it was like you have to share your private thoughts, but more from a sense of if something's coming up for you and there's an emotion to it and you're having trouble dealing with that on your own, this is the opportunity to take a leap of faith and just put it on the altar. Symbolically speaking, put it out there for everyone to hear as a symbol of exposing it to the Holy Spirit, and you'll be amazed at how much freer you feel when you're no longer holding on and thinking that you're you're such a bad person because of this private thought. And so I remember doing that for the first time and starting to just open up and say the things that I felt uncomfortable to say, like I would say things like, I don't really like you. I would say to, or I'd say, I don't like this person who's in the group. I have a lot of judgments about them. I feel like I don't know how I don't feel like I fit in here. I'm struggling with sexual thoughts about certain ones here that I'm attracted to, and I basically am going through a lot of fear right now, and I need help. And it was just amazing how when I would share the thoughts that I thought were so shameful, I could instantly feel a sense of relief from them. I could feel that I wasn't being judged, and that quite to the contrary, I was being loved very, very unconditionally. And then there would be a sense of laughter that would follow. It's like when we all can recognize the ego, because when one person exposes the ego that's coming up for them, we can all relate to it, even if it's not the exact same issues. We can all relate to feeling shame and guilt and fear. And so when it gets exposed, we can join in the lightness of it's okay. These aren't really your thoughts. These are the ego thoughts that you've been tricked into thinking are your thoughts, but they're really not. So I'm just going to check really quick my tech here and make sure I'm live. Yeah, okay. Okay. And then with no people pleasing, again, it's not meant to be like something that you shouldn't please other people, that you should intentionally be unpleasant to people, or that there's something wrong with being nice and kind and so forth. It's more of an invitation to look at where is it coming from. Is it coming from an authentic, is the kindness and the love and the niceness that's coming through me, is it authentic? Is it coming from a place of authentic peace and joy? Or is it coming from a fear that if I don't play nice, that I'm going to be punished and people aren't going to like me, they're not going to respect me, they're not going to love me anymore? So it's such a huge practice. And I shared a little bit about in my post about how, I mentioned about how we're having this online retreat at the end of December to show the movie, to show Take Me Home. It'll be the online premiere. And I know a lot of you will be with your families probably. And you'll probably be with your family for Christmas, and then it's the weekend immediately following Christmas, the 27th through the 29th, and there may still be family activities going on. But if you're called to spend the weekend with Jesus, spend the weekend with Jesus on his birthday, and use the time to really nurture your spiritual growth and your healing, and to face the fear of not going by the status quo, then this would be a good opportunity to practice a form of no people pleasing, which I would call no family pleasing. And this is something I have a lot of experience with, because I have had, and I would say I still to some degree, I've had a very strong family concept, family self-concept. I was like always the good son. I was kind of like the golden child in the family. My parents were both, really beautiful, really loving. I had a really loving family. I feel like I had a pretty rare family in that regard, that, a lot of my friends growing up had what looked like pretty dysfunctional families. And my families on the surface seemed pretty open-minded and pretty loving. And we would get together and have big family parties and reunions. And there was a lot of laughter and a lot of love. And it really felt like it was just the ideal family. And so when I started learning guitar, which was about age 16, most people I would say everyone in my family was just very encouraging. And I would play at the family parties and on the camping trips and all the different things. And people would encourage me, and I'd start singing. And as I got better and better and better, they all were very inspired and excited. And they would want me to play guitar at all these events. Eric, go get your guitar. And, and it was really fun for a long time, especially at the beginning when I was starting to get really good at guitar. And I could I learned that I could captivate, a crowd. I could play some Beatles songs or some of my own songs, and I could get everyone in a state of mind and really focused on whatever the message of the song was. I found that to be thrilling and just a beautiful. It was an expansion, because I was very shy as a child. I was like an awkward child, and I had a lot of self-consciousness. I felt very, very shy and uncomfortable in social situations, and this was like a stepping stone for me to come out of my shell, playing guitar and singing. And I started to feel a deep sense of. I started to get in touch with a sense of worthiness and just joy in being social and sharing and connecting with people more. But at a certain point, after I had been studying the Course for a little while, I started to realize that I was doing it just to please people. Sometimes I was family pleasing. There were times when people would say, "Come on, Eric, go get your guitar and play some Beatles," and I really didn't feel it, but I would go do it because I didn't want to let them down. And I didn't want to lose the status that I seemed to have as the entertainer, or the golden child, or whatever. It just felt like everybody looked forward to me playing music. And so I had to start very gradually, especially when I got more into David Hoffmeister's teachings. I started to feel more of an urgency to be authentic. I could feel how important it was to stop compromising. And I remember watching a video of David's once where he talked about going through a similar experience when his mother would invite him to family reunions and birthday parties and different things. And he had to start saying to her, "Well, I'm going to have to pray about that." He wouldn't just give a pat answer like yes or no right away. She would expect him to say yes, but he had to just say, I don't know, actually. I've got to pray and really feel if I'm guided to be there or not. And of course, at the beginning, as he tells the story, she wasn't very amenable to this new David, to this approach of him having to pray. She said, "Well, since when are you praying for guidance? I mean, I'm your mother. And this is you're supposed to come to this birthday party. This is your niece. And he just said, well, I'm trying to practice following guidance, and it feels important. And so he would just do that. He would really be more authentic, and eventually, and she would keep asking him, and she'd sometimes be firm, like, I need a yes or a no. And if he didn't know for sure whether he was guided to be there yet, he would have to just stick to, I will see when the time comes. If I'm guided to be there, I'll be there. And if not, I won't. But I can't give you a definite answer right now. So I can't tell you that, just seeing that example in David and hearing that story, for me, it gave me the keys to freedom, because I suddenly saw a whole new possibility open up, that I didn't have to compromise. I could actually start to say that to people, even old friends, like high school friends. Eric, hey, come out to the bar tonight. We're going out for some drinks. And I just started feeling like I wanted to spend my time meditating more and more. I didn't want to have to go socialize when I wasn't really, I could feel there wasn't really a purpose to it. It was just to try to have fun, but I really wanted to stay inward a lot of the time as I got deeper into the Course. And it just gave me the freedom to start doing that, to say, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And sometimes I wouldn't always use the words, I'm going to have to pray on it, because that might sound threatening to some people, like prayer, or it might just sound, it was always about listening and letting the words come that felt comfortable for me in the moment, that felt intuitive and guided. I would say, I just have to think about it, or I'm not sure. And it did feel challenging. I remember my dad, actually, he started to get upset with me because I wasn't going to all the family reunions anymore. And I remember once after I had been not going to a lot of these events over the course of a couple of years, he said to me, it feels like you've abandoned us. Like you've abandoned your whole family that loves you so much. And I could, he was very much hurt. I could feel that he was in a lot of turmoil over this. Like we've lost Erik. Where did Erik go? He used to be here playing his guitar at all these events, and now he's off doing this Course in Miracles, but he's abandoned us. And I remember at the beginning, I tried to explain to him, I remember always trying to explain to him that I was just following my heart. I felt that this Course was the most important thing in my life, and I needed to feel like I was being authentic. And I just didn't feel as interested as I used to in the social thing and in the family thing. I remember my uncle one time came up to me, and he was a little bit upset, and he said, Erik, God made families and family is important. Family should be number one. And and I remember at that moment, I had to really, it forced me to become really present, because there was a defensiveness that wanted to arise, and I don't know, maybe try to argue with him about that. Like, no, God didn't create families, and but I knew that wouldn't really have helped. So I actually had no words come through me, but I did feel the Spirit just move me to kind of look him in the eye and just nod and smile and, just acknowledge what he said. Because I knew that what he was saying was coming from his heart, that ultimately he was missing me, and he wanted to see more of me. And so I could feel that. And the same with my dad. I had to keep practicing pausing and noticing the temptation to defend myself and to try to explain my spiritual path to people, especially to him, because he got into the Course for a while, so he actually knew the teachings. He knew as soon as I got really into the Course, he started getting into the Course as well. And for quite a while, he was studying it, and we would talk about it and have some pretty deep conversations. But But I would try to explain myself when he would get upset about me not, being the same Erik that I used to be and coming to all the events. So it was a big lesson for me in practicing defenselessness and just tuning in to, is there anything I'm to say here, Holy Spirit? You put the words in my mouth if there is, and if there isn't anything helpful to say, then I'm just going to face this uncomfortable feeling. I'm going to allow it to arise, this fear of losing the love of my father and the rest of my family. I'm just going to have to face that. And I did, over many different instances where I felt like the most important thing was for me to honor my own guidance, my own intuition, and to just, stay with what felt right in the moment. So I want to show you a trailer for this movie, because the movie itself, it's only been shown a few times at this point. It had its premiere. It had its main United States premiere in August at the Awakening to Love retreat that was held at the monastery, and people were so moved by it, and it triggered a lot of questions for people as well. So the whole retreat was actually centered around the documentary. It was shown, I think, on the third day, or it was kind of halfway through the retreat, once people had kind of warmed up to being there and were ready to go deeper. Frances showed her documentary, and people started to have emotions arising. It was very, I cried several points throughout the movie, and I remember feeling like, this was my first time seeing it too, and I remember feeling like this was unique, that this was a very unique experience. It wasn't like a movie that you can watch with your intellectual mind. It was more like a incredible painting, where you just look at the painting and you can feel something that from the artist. And that's how this movie was for me. And I've seen it now, I think 2 or maybe even 3 times, because Frances has begun to do private showings of the movie. There's been some invitations where people would come together for like an intimate workshop where they would get to watch the movie and then ask all their questions about it, because the movie really illustrates how these principles are used at the monastery. You can see the healing that's going on for the characters in the movie, and the characters in the movie actually are primarily the cast, are primarily the crew that was filming the documentary, which is interesting because when they first were going to film, they were actually going to film a bunch of participants at a 30-day program at the monastery called the Tabula Rasa Mystery School. And there were people flying in from all over the world to go through this 30-day immersion into the principles of the Course and the no people-pleasing and no private thoughts. And the film crew that Frances had at that point was all going to be filming the participants. And then it started to become obvious that wasn't going to work. The participants were kind of saying, "No, we don't want to be filmed while we're going through all this healing." And so the guidance came in for Frances to actually use the film crew, whoever was willing, to film themselves going through the healing. One of the people, his name was Soren. He was like a professional filmmaker, and he had a strong attraction for Frances, and he was on the film team, and he had a lot of ideas about how to make movies, and yet Frances wasn't using any past learning. She didn't know anything about making movies. She was really just interested in using this whole project for her own healing, and so she was tuning in and following the guidance on what her and her team were to film every day. And Soren was having a lot of resistance coming up because, he felt like he knew better. And so that's one of the storylines in the movie is Soren and his whole healing process. And then Jeffrey and Susanna, they were in a long-term intimate relationship and were actually about to get married, or they were contemplating getting married soon, and a lot of stuff was coming up for them. Susanna was starting to feel an attraction towards another man, and Jeffrey was having to face all the unworthiness that was triggering for him. I mean, it's deep stuff. This was all filmed and went into the documentary, and it's a work of art to just watch the incredible humility and willingness and transparency of these people who've devoted their life to healing, and they're willing to just lay it all out without wearing any kind of mask, without trying to look good, without trying to be spiritual. I would say trying to be spiritual is probably one of the biggest ego traps that we fall into on this path, because the ego jumps right on this whole spiritual journey the moment we do, and it says, okay, good, let's become a spiritual person now. Maybe we can become an enlightened person. And then it tries to uphold an image of what that looks like and tries to be tries to act spiritual. And it really goes against what the spiritual path is for. It's not about fake it till you make it. It's about authenticity, and it's about getting in touch with the darkness that is there so that it can be exposed and released. So I want to show you this trailer, and it'll just give you a little, snippet. It's about a minute and a half, a little sense of the feeling of this movie. And I invite you to just sink in and kind of feel it. Just feel the message. It's very meditative. The whole movie is like a profound meditation, and I love this trailer because it's like a meditation as well.
I think in some ways, the world or people in the world are used to getting something from everything they do. But here, the whole process is to reverse that way of thinking and actually learn how to give. So you go to traditional Zen monasteries or St. Francis monasteries, and maybe in the old days you would go a little bit to escape the life, but I'm sure most of them had this really deep call. And here you have to feel like somehow you're supposed to go there, whether it be a week, a month, or a lifetime, and you have to honor that inner urge, and so you go.
Yeah, so I want to share a little bit about what this online retreat will be for and about. I mentioned how Frances, since she's showed the movie for the first time at the monastery this past August for the Awakening to Love, she started to get invitations to go and share it. In fact, I think in the spring of next year, she and some of the crew, Jeffrey and Susanna, I think specifically, are going to be traveling around the East Coast of the United States and offering Take Me Home workshops wherever there's an invitation, and showing the movie to small groups. And they're doing that now. Actually, David and Francis, I think they're in Mexico right now, Mexico City, and I think they're heading to Brazil next, and showing the movie to groups, and giving people the opportunity to experience, this possibility of living without compromise, of being authentic, of being transparent, and just getting a taste of that, and then asking all the questions. I remember hearing the music you were just hearing, in fact, on the trailer there, and the music I played at the very beginning is by Jason Press. We call him JP, and he's this just incredibly humble soul who he came to one of David's gatherings years ago in Hawaii, and when David was talking about no private thoughts and no people pleasing, and JP was so excited about this, he went home after the gathering and started just sharing all his private thoughts with his girlfriend. And then he came back the next day and said to David, I tried to practice what you were talking about, but it didn't really go so well. She didn't like what I was doing at all and felt very threatened. Is there anything I missed? Is there anything I missed in the teaching? And David said, yeah, discernment about who to share your private thoughts with, about when, and about where. It's really got to be guided. It's not about just going around and being transparent in terms of what you say with everybody. It is about becoming transparent, 100% transparent wherever you are, ultimately. But as you're beginning to take steps towards that 100% transparency, which is a state of total oneness, where you literally don't see a difference between my mind and your mind. There's just, that's really what this is all for. The practice of no private thoughts is really about helping us come to an experience that there isn't really separate minds. There really is just one mind. You actually I've noticed that I start to become telepathic as I practice that. The people that I'm joining with, I can intuitively hear what they're thinking before they say it, even sometimes before they even maybe think it themselves, because we're all tuning in to the same voice. And I might have a thought, and then they might say, oh, I just had an idea, and they'll voice it, and I'll say, yeah, I just heard that too. And it's amazing to start to have those experiences that really show us that the Course isn't just some theory. It's not just some intellectual theory to be pontificated on. It really is the truth. And the only way to know it's the truth, though, to be convinced, is by starting to open up, get in touch with private thoughts, expose them when it's guided with those who have the ears to hear and are holding the space for you. I shared about expression sessions and just how powerful those can be. And yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities to do this more and more online. Most of us live in places where we might not have a lot of Course in Miracle people around us that we can join with. But through online, through the internet, we can join in amazing ways. We can have these kinds of experiences where we don't have to fly all the bodies together. It's really just as good, I've found, to go to online retreats and online events and to share authentically and to start to open up with people that I can feel will be able to hold the space. And so that's what this workshop in December is going to be like. In December 27th to the 29th, it's going to be a retreat. It's a full weekend retreat, and it's right after Christmas. I know, like I said, many of you will be there with your families, and you might have to just, tell them, I'm going to take a couple days here, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday morning to really go inward. I want to spend my weekend with spirit and feel, the true meaning of Christmas for myself. It's like going to be like a meditation, like a healing time for me. And you can just lock yourself in a room, even if you're on vacation with your family, and just ask them to be respectful, that you'd like to just take some time and some quiet time and be with some deep healing. It's just such a profound gift. So I thought I'd close this this talk with a song on my guitar, and it's actually a song that I just learned. I tried learning it a few years ago when I first heard it, but it's actually the theme song for the movie Take Me Home, and it's called Take Me Home, the song. It was written by Netta Boyne, who some of you have heard sing. She's an incredible voice. She's like she's a professional singer. She was on The Voice of Holland, and she could have been probably like a Barbara Streisand or a Whitney Houston. She could have probably been famous in the world, but she actually got a calling a while back to start devoting her life to the Course, and then just in the past year or two, she came out with a really professional album of songs that are all based on A Course in Miracles, and yeah, it's just so powerful and moving. And one of the songs, I think it was probably the first song of hers that I heard when she came to the monastery for the filming of this mystery school, actually, or maybe it was the mystery school before that. I can't remember, but she sang, and it just touched me so deeply, and I decided I wanted to learn this song. It's something that I think all of us can relate to, because it touches on the fear that we all experience about awakening, and the fear that we have to open up. To the ego self, it feels terrifying. It feels like, what's happening to me? I'm starting to lose my bearings. I'm becoming dysfunctional. I'm going to lose all my friends and family, and I don't really know where this is all leading. And and the song also speaks to that desire for the truth, for the peace, and the love that is available to us. So, yeah, get my guitar here and share this with you. So I just learned this for real tonight. I kind of learned it a while back, but I practiced it again today because I felt like it'd be beautiful to share it on this video. So I invite you to just sink inward. If you're in a place where you can close your eyes and feel it, then, yeah, let it sink in. So afraid of the unknown. I'm so afraid to be alone. I try to hear your guiding voice, but still I don't know where to go. And I see your hand next to mine, and I'm holding on so tight. Please promise me you'll never let go. Oh, take me home today. I wanna go home today. Take me home where I truly belong. Take me home today. My heart speaks so clear, but still I'm paralyzed with fear. I lack in trust, I lack in faith. My ego made me go astray. I see your hand next to mine, and I'm holding on so tight. Please promise me you'll never let go. Oh, take me home today. I wanna go home today. Take me home where I truly belong. Oh, take me home today. Lead the path for me. Wherever you go, I will be. Show me the way to be where I never left. Take me there. Take me home today. I wanna go home today. Take me home where I truly belong. Take me home today. Oh, take me home today. I wanna go home today. Take me home where I truly belong. Take me home today. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me in this experience, and for just opening up and feeling the love that you're worthy of. And know that you don't have to compromise, you don't have to people please, you don't have to, you really can, like David, like I talked about earlier, you can just say to people, I don't know if I'm going to be there for this event or that, I'm going to have to pray on it. You can really honor, you can make prayer and your own healing be the most important thing in your life and not compromise on that. Yeah. So yeah, check out the link for the online retreat at the end of December. And also, tomorrow is the last day for the early bird special for the online retreat, a different online retreat that's happening at the beginning of December. and it's called The Forgiven World. And yeah, I think that this is going to be, I mean, any opportunity to be with David, I think David Hoffmeister is a precious opportunity, just to use this time to join with someone who is just has nothing but love to share. And there's something that happens every time I join with David and do one of these online retreats. I feel like there's more that gets uncovered, more healing. My mind becomes more clear and happy, and it's quite a gift. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you on my next video. And I see you're all there. Carlos, Heidi, Natalia, Sandy, Jacob, Teska, Kiriko. Thank you so much for being here. Bye for now.